Well, that was a bad voice. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And in 2023, 2022, and 2021, our team reached out directly or indirectly to over 100,000 fathers around the world. I'm also a featured contributor on the Fly Nubian Queen YouTube channel network that has 570,000 subscribers. So as always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. We are broadcasting live. Wow, hold on a second. This voice is not happening today. Hold on. Okay, now we're good to go. All right, so we're broadcasting live on February 19th, and we have our Monday morning ritual. So there's our Monday morning ritual. This episode of the Morning Vibe is brought to you by the McMillan Group, providing mortgage solutions one client at a time since 1999, buying, refinancing, or investing. Call me in Canada, 905-813-4354, US 904-586-5636. So thank you so much, as always, the McMillan Group. And let me just make sure I bring this. Make sure we represent them properly. Again, there's their phone number, Canada, US, and it's toll-free North America, 866-883-0885. Website address, themcmillangroup.inc.com, and email address, raycmcmillan@gmail.com. So for a number of people in North America, it's a holiday. In the US, it's President's Day. In Canada, I know a number of provinces have as a provincial holiday. So in Ontario here, we call it Family Day. So banks and Ontario government offices are closed. I don't know about federal companies. I don't think federal companies are closed. I'm not sure. But hey, we're here. We're broadcasting. For those who are wondering, Ryan is out of town today, so he is not with me. But we did communicate via text last night, and there's an opportunity that he is looking to provide me on March 1st. So I won't go into it until he comes back. I'm speaking he's going to be back on Friday. I don't want to share the news because it's his working. So I'm just going to let that happen. Other things, please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube. Subscribe and hit the notification button. And a number of you have been subscribing lately. So thank you very much. And a lot of you, especially on YouTube Shorts. Appreciate that. Also follow the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you want to advertise your business, product, or service on the Morning Vibe or any of the platforms that I host, email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. And also keep the conversation going in our Morning Vibe community. I'm posting at least once a week there, different things. I think about a day or two, I posted a story that OpenAI, the creators of ChatGPT, are in the beta phase testing a new AI software that you provided text and it creates videos. Interesting. More and more coming. And for those who subscribe to my channels, we've had some epic conversations over the weekend. Yesterday, we had Cesar Nadima Musa on Black Canada Talking, and he was we were chatting about immigration and international students in Canada. We were also chatting about the trial of Fannie Willis in Georgia in the U.S., and we are also talking about Black men's portrayal in the media and where are the Black male leaders. So I would suggest, especially if you're a subscriber, go to my YouTube page, check out the replays. They were very, very epic. Speaking about Ryan coming back on this Friday we have Perry Douglas, and those who haven't seen him before, you need to check him out. But he's going to be talking about the peril of Black History Month, how we hold ourselves by doing the emotional thing instead of the intelligent thing. So I think that's a good segue to the friend we have. He likes to smile. I know I got a little bit of media understanding. We like to do that segue. So today we are very blessed to have Robert Small, the driving force, the creator, the person behind the legacy poster, 30 years, family. And in the green room, he's flashing his fingers 10 fingers 3 times. So before we just get there, let's see who's. McMillan Group says yes. Good morning, happy Family Day, Canadians, and happy President's Day, U.S. folks. Thank you, Ray, and thank you for you and the family's continued sponsorship of what we do. Appreciate you and don't take it for granted. All right, so let's bring up the flashing 10 fingers. Hello, Flash.
10, 20, 30.
Good morning.
Pretty good. How you doing, man?
I am blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem, and Blackalicious. How you doing?
Okay, Blackalicious. I love that.
Yeah, I like that. What's been going on, man?
That's a different type of show, but anyways.
Right? There you go. Well, I think we may get into it today. It may be a continuation of what I had a conversation with Cesar yesterday about various things. But how have you been keeping?
I've been keeping okay. No real complaints and everything like that. There's always ups and downs and various things they have to go through and everything like that. But you just keep on pushing through, right?
Good. Yeah. Persistency, practice, perseverance, and practice, perseverance, and practice. There's practice, perseverance, and persistency. There's persistent. Okay. Yes. No, the 3 Ps. 3 Ps.
The 3 Ps, right?
The 3 Ps. How has the month been for you? Because I know this is usually a very busy time for you.
Yeah, it is a very busy time for me. I'm really, and I'm grateful, right? Because as you know, as someone who's been involved in the Black community since I've been, I think you're here before I entered the fray as well, right? But you just see people come and go, not because they're disingenuous in what they want to do, but working with the Black community is not something that's cut out for everybody, right? Mm-hmm. Like just because you're Black doesn't mean that you can work with Black people, right? The same way and you have to have experience. You have to develop yourself as a person that can relate to Black people who are in Nova Scotia or Black people who are in Saskatchewan, and I code switch between them, right? But a lot of times people think that just because they're Black, that somehow that's their ticket to doing things in the Black community. But it's kind of like being a woman and thinking that you can just work at a women's shelter, right? You're not, if you just come in there talking about how your boyfriend dropped you yesterday and you can relate to her experience, you're out of your league, right?
You're a terrible guest because about 7 different topics I want to chat to you about, but we got to talk about the poster. But we'll get into some of the other stuff. 30 years, man.
Mm-hmm.
30 years.
It doesn't seem like 30 years to me, but it only seems like 30 years when I walk into a school and I see 30 posters on the wall and like, oh boy, that's like kind of a lot, right? So,
so you've had that experience where there are 30 posters of yours on a wall.
Yeah. Wow. It's powerful. It's inspiring to me because sometimes I'll enter school and there'll be a Black child looking at it and I'm standing right behind them and they don't know that the person that created it is actually, right behind them. Right. Because, and often early in my career, when I first started doing the poster, I was just making the poster because I wanted to get out there. And the poster I create is a poster I create for Black History Month that celebrates the contributions of Black people around the world. And you can check it out at thelegacyposter.com while we're talking, so you know what we're talking about. But needless to say, when I went to one school one year, I think it was my 3rd year doing the poster, and this white teacher asked me to come talk to her Black students. So I came, and I walked in the door at the same time she did, and the Black students looked up at both of us and started laughing. And I started wondering, okay, well, why are they laughing? Was it my fly down or something? Or it's like I casually looked down to make sure, right? So, but they were fine and everything. So I kept on walking. Well, maybe it was because it was her that they were laughing at or something, right? So needless to say, before I left, I asked them, well, when I came in, like, why were you guys laughing? And they said, no, sir, don't take offense to it. But every year for Black History Month, our teacher invites people to come talk to us for Black history, but she always asks white people to come talk to us about Black history, right? So when we seen you come in the door, we just laugh because she finally got it right, you know? And then the next thing that they told me was that the other thing is that we see these posters up all over the place, and we thought it was really successful, but we never thought a Black person made it, right? So
wow.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that kind of struck me, because at the time I wasn't thinking about getting myself on TV, because I'm just making a poster. Like, what's the big deal, right? But then I started thinking about deeper about how many things in our community have been going on for 30 years. How many things that have been going. Then if we get past that, which is few and far between, like I can count on one hand, right? Like, really, it's myself, Caravana, Share Newspaper still,
BBPA,
okay,
AXA, like African Canadian. They've been
yeah,
20.
yeah.
They've been. I don't know if they're 30, but they're close to it.
Yeah, but then I started thinking about how many. Then if you get past that, and that's like about 7, let's say 7, we're giving 2 or 3, right? But how many are ultimately in control without someone behind them dictating their progress, right? So I'm doing the poster whether or not I get funded next year or not, right? But if our support is guaranteed as something that we need by sponsors outside of our community, we're not really in control. So I started thinking about how many times are we truly in control, and concerning the poster, like there's nobody behind me making decisions, right?
There you go.
Or telling me, yeah, maybe you should be doing it this way, or doing your program this way, type of thing, right? Yeah, because I've been in those spots where you're doing a program for Black youth, and there are white people who are managing you or supporting you that are literally telling you to do it like this, right?
Yeah.
So that's why on the surface, you might be doing programs that are affecting the Black community, but really, like, how much despite how many millions of dollars have been poured into these organizations to help the Black community, how come the average Black person on the street isn't feeling that? And half the time it's because, one, there's no plan. So if you go to half of these organizations, ask them, what's your 5-year plan to help the Black community, to develop it? They don't have one. Or two, the people that are in charge of them, they're just a Black person that has had a good position in a white organization. Well, they have no experience whatsoever, like in the in the Black community, right? They've never marketed an idea to the Black community, and that's what you're really in the business for. You can't, if you're graduating from like Western with a business degree, fine, but have you applied that to the Black community? You're still marketing an idea. You're marketing the idea of Black people working together. You're marketing the concept of us being prosperous and everything, And so, do you have any experience doing that in the Black community? You're not going to take someone who made comic books and say, hey, you know what? Why don't you market ice cream to the indigenous community? You're not going to do that, right? But oftentimes within our community, we get somebody merely because they have a title within a white organization previously, and then we appoint them as like king or queen of the blacks, and then it doesn't work out, and then you wonder why. Because they're black, yes, but they have no experience working in the black community. So consequently, there are people that are in the black community who've been doing things on the ground that look at them and they're kind of with suspicion because they've seen this playbook before, right?
There you go. Well,
and oftentimes, as you could tell, like there's issues oftentimes with people parachuting in with titles and they grab the money. And the one issue that's prominent, and I can fully understand, is when black women have been working in the black community for so long as executive directors and this, that, the other. And several times there have been black men who have titles outside of that, and then they just come in, and then suddenly they have the prime minister or somebody else's attention that these black women have been trying to get for many years, right? And then that same black guy disappears or whatever, and it's happened several times, so I'm not pinpointing out anybody particularly. And then they disappear, and then suddenly we're back to where we started from. But the unfortunate thing is that oftentimes the black male had no experience doing that before. They've just been a black male in the black community, but everybody is, right? So
as you see, family, Robert is gone in already. We haven't talked about the post, and that's okay. It's no problem, because I think it's all related to what you have been doing for 30 years plus. So I just want to shout out some things. Opal Inspired says, good morning, everyone. Follow her on YouTube. A lot of creative stuff that she produces. She also says, love your posters, Robert, combining two of my favorite topics, art and history. Keep up the great work.
Yeah, thanks, Opal. I appreciate it.
Good morning from Mr. Ryan Singh. So good to see you, Ryan. Good to see you, Robert. And for people who want to get information on Robert, I'll put it on the screen periodically, but wherever you're watching this, except on Ryan's LinkedIn page, I've put his contact information, website, everything's there. So if you want to contact him directly or buy some of the posters, definitely it is a good thing. Yeah, Robert, even better. Even better. Yes. Yeah. We'll do this one and go into maybe a break. All those things that you have said, how important was it for you to have control from the beginning of the Legacy poster?
You know what? At first, it wasn't a concern of mine because I was thinking I was just making a poster. I was not thinking I'd be doing this for 30 years. But gradually, over the course of time, I realized how important it was, because there are times, and there still remains times, that like people from outside of our community have tried circumventing my poster, actually, like directly. I can remember this one white guy telling me directly that he wants me to do the poster how he wants to do it, how he thinks I should do it, right? Because he sponsored me, but he was sponsoring me like 10 other people were. So I had to tell him, and I think it was like 27 at the time. Yeah. And I go, he was always suggesting people to me, but it was always like black conservatives that he was suggesting to me. So I told him that, well, you know what? Obviously, Lincoln Alexander is an obvious choice, but these other people, I quite frankly don't think they're worthy of me putting them on a poster as yet. I don't think they've done something for the black community. Then his comment to me was that if you don't do it my way, that I'll just get a black person to do it the way that I want, right?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I go, hey, go ahead, right? Like, go ahead. And I just wrote it off as like something that angry white guys say when they're confronted with a younger black guy telling them to back off, right? So I forgot about it. Then the next January after, that guy had his black guy, right? And you know, it was a younger black artist and everything. I love the artwork that artist made. So it was I felt like I was kind of mentoring him in a way, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of really was like a stab in the back type of thing. But I understood because that young artist was just thinking of it as a paycheck type of thing, right? But I seen it as like a white person having an agenda and using Black people as part of that agenda, right? And he just wanted to get rid of my poster, period, right?
Mm-hmm.
And jacket. And I said at the time, I was juiced off of Louis Farrakhan tapes, so hell no.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
Exactly. Like, bring it. This is what I've been waiting for ever since university, right? Like I'm confronting the white oppressor, right? So that was that. And then there was another individual who tried making a poster, and she was female, and she was working with a white feminist press to make a Black History Month poster. So I'll name it the Toronto District School Board at the time, years ago, about 15 years ago. They had a white person in charge of their diversity. So that white person would give the white feminist company, the money to create a poster. They give them like $5,000 to create the poster.
Yep.
Then that company would create the poster, then give it to this Black organization to sell to individual people.
Wow.
Right? And I was like shaking my head, and I was going like, oh, and this organization was working to empower Black people, and I'm going, how does that work, right? So it's not like as if that's happened once or twice. It's happened about 11 times.
Wow.
Right? So it's not like and each time, that you have a Black person working, trying to either that or the city of Toronto. I can remember there were Black people in charge at the city of Toronto, and they were adamantly making like a Black history poster, even though they knew that their poster was getting a lot of steam because people at that time, as you know, I used to call it the official Black History Month poster, right?
Yes.
Right. But no one is thinking that the official Black History Month poster is coming from a guy in his basement, right? So they would phone the city of Toronto looking for it, which I understood, right? But I guess that they felt like their poster was getting all this attention because they made it. And I went to these two Black people in charge at the time and said, well, hey, why don't we work together? Like, and kind of implying that you're like 15 years older than I am. Like, you should be helping me. Right.
Mm.
They utterly refused. Right.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there going like, you're like the head of Parks and Rec. Like, why are you so you should be doing mentoring for Black youth. You should be doing, as an organization of Black history, you should be going to the government to get funding for projects that Black youth can do during the Black History Month. Like, why are you focusing on a poster? Like, that's so beneath you, right?
Absolutely.
Like if I was the head of the Parks and Rec at the City of Toronto, you think I'd be making a poster for Black History Month? Are you insane? Right? Like I've seen the government of Canada making, you can Google it right now, and the government of Canada, the only thing they can give you is a poster for Black History Month that you can download off of their site. Like, are you insane? Are you insane? Right? Like the government of Canada, like that's their biggest contribution, and that's been for years too.
Yes,
right. But that just and I'm still doing it better than that, right? So it's like it's really sad, like what little we're willing to accept from our leaders, our quote unquote leaders, but also government officials type of thing. Because hey, if I were able to clone myself, like I'd be doing way more than I'm doing now. And on top of that, like with the poster that I create each year, the Bank of Montreal has distributed in most of their branches across Canada.
Right.
Every year I produce 5,000 of them, and I send them to school boards across the country. So
Congratulations, man. That's
it's
fantastic.
yeah, thanks. Right. So to me, like it's kind of futile for Jerome or Sherry to start a Black History Month poster to try competing against one, because you're not competing against the one that I've created. You're competing against all 30, right?
Good
So
thought
I would just
process.
laugh because I would go to the event and 28 of my posters are up and 3 are made from somebody else, but nobody cares because they just say that I made all of them, right?
There you go.
You know, so especially given this age that we're in of technology, like there's so many different ideas that we can focus on, right? So, and different opportunities that we have. Right? So
this is fantastic. Getting a lot of good stuff. We have some comments, but what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick little 90-second break and come back, have some comments, and then I've got some questions about how one of the questions I'm going to come to Robert with. 30 years, has the process of doing the poster changed any?
okay.
So we'll come back after the break with that. Thanks everyone for being here live. We've got people on from Canada, the United States. So hey, chime in your questions, make it happen. Keep it locked. We'll be back in 90 seconds.
You know, and that's what I feel like. You feel like you're the Harriet Tubman of the mind.
I am.
I feel like I'm one of the Harriet Tubmans of intelligent Black people. Like I want to liberate y'all from like being left behind and ignored and oblivion. No, really, the rappers get all the attention. You know, seriously, does anybody else feel this way? Like ignorant Black people, they'll be all up, you know, getting all the headlines on the Shade Room.
Overly sexualized Black folks.
Over like the twerkers and the, you know, just people that, you know, don't always represent the best of us, you know, the diversity, you know, like people like Dr. Vibe. Like everybody should know about people like Dr. Vibe. Dr.
Really
Vibe he's trying to do good work for Black people.
Dr. Vibe from Toronto. Good to see you, my brother. Dr. Vibe. Everybody follow Dr. Vibe. He has a great show. He's very good at what he does, and I have a lot of respect for him.
Okay, so let me hop into this. What's up, Dr. Vibe? How you doing? Everybody, if you see Dr. Vibe in the chat, everybody go follow the Dr. Vibe show. Dr. Vibe is a real smart brother and a good human being. I like the guy a lot, and he's very intelligent. And I think everyone should pay attention to what he's got going on. We got to shine the spotlight on the intelligent Black people out here that are really doing the good work. Don't just pay attention to the rappers and the celebrities. You know, a lot of these people are losers. Your true winners are your people in your community that are really having your back. You know, helping us to have stronger families and a stronger community. So Dr. Vibe is in that category. So you might see the Dr. Vibe show in this chat. If you see him, please go follow him. Okay. All right. So anyway.
All right. Shout out to Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. I was directly and indirectly in contact with them over the weekend. Dr. Alicia sent me a DM yesterday saying she wants to come back on the Dr. Vibe show. And I said, let's make it happen. And Dr. Boyce, I was in one of his conversations. He gave me a huge shout out, and I appreciate that. And I've got an ask coming up for him about his platform, but we're focusing on Robert Small today.
Yeah, you can talk about Dr. Boyce Watkins all you want, man. You know? Like, yeah. If he shouted out me on his program, I'd be like replaying it on my web. It will be on my website like 2 years later, right?
Well, you know what? One of the things I asked him through his wife yesterday, it could include you. So I'm working on something.
Oh, there you go.
I'm working on something.
Yeah.
I'm working on something. So patient.
How could it not include me? I've been doing this for 30 years.
Okay.
Right?
All right. No, there is something I'm working on to help amplify one of his channels. Because the thing with Dr. Boyce, love him, but he does all of it. And like, man, it's a lot. And for yourself, you do a lot of stuff on your own. And brother, you must get tired at times.
It's getting to that point, right? So
so I know, and I want to see if I can help amplify and take a little load off of him so he can focus on some things and focus on his family. So we're working on something. It took me about 1.5 years to get content on the Fly Nubian Queen channel. So I don't think this next opportunity I'm speaking, it won't take as long, but we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
All right.
I appreciate that. Right.
No problem.
I'll with you on top of that. Right. So
I am. Believe me. I'm working on it. First up, Dr. Tachi says, good morning all from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. She's the host of Mediascope, the livest online show about media, tech, and pop culture, going at least into its 8th or 9th season. And on Wednesdays, 5 p.m. Eastern time on Instagram, and then 6 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitch and other platforms.
Okay, great.
Jamie Shepard says, well done, Robert. Your posters are inspiring. We need them up in schools all year round, not just February.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Right.
Dr. Tachi says, good Lord. I love how some non-melanated people know what we need better than we do.
Yeah.
And Dr. Tachi says, Dr. Boyce and Dr. Leisha are good people. Well, and she's another lady gets featured on their platform also. So absolutely.
Yeah. Like Dr. Tachi, seriously, behind the scenes, it happens way more often, maybe in Canada, than you would hope to want to think happens, right? You know?
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, some of us like hand over things that could empower our community just to gain favor with white people, and it doesn't even work, right? So, case in point, I don't care how this sounds, but with Caravana, for example, right? That could be a vehicle that empowers Black students for the summer, like every year, right? But yet it's not in control of our community, right? You know, and millions of dollars come through it, and it's sad when you have somebody representing Caravana, and Caravana is a festival here in Toronto that happens every year. And it's really sad when they say, well, trillions come into the city, and that's like an indictment of your incompetence, because if Dr. Vibe, if you're holding out a party at your house,
yep,
and everybody on the street made money except you, would you saying, hey, I hold a party on Providence Crescent and this whole street makes money? Right?
You know, we'll keep on the top, but it's an interesting story. Cesar yesterday said, and Cesar does a lot of EDI, anti-Black diversity presentations, right? And he said a few years ago, he was sitting at a table at a conference with some young people, some Black, some white. He asked a group of young people, you know, what's your dream? What's your goal? What's your future? White young person said, you know, I want to be the next person to take care of my dad's business, succession planning, right?
Yeah.
Young Black gentleman said, oh, well, I want to work for his business.
Wow.
And that's at a young age.
Yeah.
That's a young age. So Dr. Tachi responded what he just said. She laughs, and then she also says, as often as it is the case, is the money from these large events don't trickle down to the community. Well, Robert was saying Caravana is a perfect example.
Well, yeah, because they don't trickle down because there is no plan for it to trickle down. Like they, and it sounds harsh me saying that, but Dr. Vibe, have you ever heard a plan for it to trickle down?
Nope.
It doesn't trickle down because that isn't what they want to do, because they're just Black, period, right? But they're not knowledgeable about Dr. Boyce Watkins or, the many different Black philosophers, financial philosophers that have told you what you should do, right? So if they just picked up like so many different books that have been written on Black empowerment and how to empower the Black community, they would have executed by now. But no, they're just people who are Black working in a predominantly Black organization, and they want to put on a fun time. And they literally tell you, they literally say, oh, at the end of the Caravana, oh, everybody had fun. Everybody had fun.
So how does fun get you ahead in North American society?
Yeah, if I had $1 million, gosh, darn right that I'd be having fun. Like, how do you avoid having fun when someone just gave you $1 million to put on a parade? Like, how you screw that up, right?
It's called symbolism, my brother. Symbolism.
That's
what it's called. Symbolism.
And I think that we bought into the symbolism too much, right? Like, I realize, like, my posters obviously are art, so they are symbolism in a way, right? But the thing about it is like, it's a control. It's deeper than that. It's having control over an image. And from my point of view, my plan over the last 30 years has always been to increase the self-esteem of Black people by 5% during Black History Month. And by doing that is having these posters everywhere that they can possibly be. So if Dr. Vibe goes to a school to talk, and he sees the poster there, then he goes to the Bank of Montreal and sees it again, then he goes to the community center and sees it again. That's compounding his self-esteem every time he sees it, especially over the last 30 years. So you can have one student that goes to school in Nova Scotia, sees it there, moves to Toronto 10 years later, and then sees it again, right? So I go and run off my mouth about plans and everything, and everyone have one, but I've been having one for the last 30 years, right?
There you go.
And that's just with a poster, let alone if you're backed up with a degree from Harvard or Howard or Western or University of Windsor. Like if there's 1 million Black people here in Toronto, even more so, if only 10%, if only 5%, took a vested interest in uplifting the Black community, we'd be on our way, right?
Yep.
We don't need everybody.
No, you need the right people. You don't need everybody. You need the right people.
No, we just need the right people to not be content in what they're doing and just patting themselves on the back for small accomplishments. Like if you're a 30-year-old son or daughter, the expectation of a 30-year-old son or daughter is not the same as when they're 5, right? When they're 5 and they could read, you're kind of and they're starting to read like words that are beyond their years. You're congratulating them. Well, you're not going to congratulate a 30-year-old for saying repercussions, right? So on the same level, like these organizations that have 30 years of existence, they should be symbolic of an organization that's been around for 30 years.
Okay.
In their accomplishments and everything.
All right. So more comments here. Dr. Chachi says, yes, all skin folk aren't kinfolk. That came up in a conversation I was having offline last night, which is a whole other thing that I'm not going to get into. She goes to H with fun.
I know.
Right? We've got it cornered on that. We don't have to worry about that. That people look at us to and replicate how we have fun. Okay, I'm gonna get to something in a second. And Ray from McMillan, how is fun monetized? It's saddening to hear these perspectives.
Oh yeah, like when you hear the representative from of Caribana Committee or any other committee say that we had fun, like everybody had fun, like you should just email that person and tell them to shut up.
Whoa!
It's like
Robert's
it's not
going in today.
Yeah, like it's just belittling us, right? Like it's a very low measuring stick.
Yeah.
Period. Right.
And we allow it to happen.
Yeah, we allow it to happen, right?
Yeah, because we're co-conspirators in this conspiracy.
Oh yeah, definitely. We're willing participants in it, right? Because there's a lot of us that know that the bar is really low, right? And we maintain it, right? And we maintain it different ways. Like the city, like sorry, I'm such a Debbie Downer, right?
It's all right. In a few moments we'll get back to it, but I think this is an important conversation. It relates to what your poster represents.
Yeah,
so no problem.
Like for example, I was with a district school board here in Canada. About 5 or 6 years ago, they initiated an Afrocentric program throughout the city, throughout their district, right? So they asked me to come to their meeting of the teachers who teach the Afrocentric program at the schools. So I'm sitting there going, okay, yeah, man, I'm excited. I was sitting there going, dang, man, I can hardly wait to go there to talk to these teachers. I'm expecting a whole bunch of Black teachers. I get there, look inside. I walked by the room at first because I said, oh, well, there's a whole bunch of white teachers in there. Like, can't be that room. And then when I'm told that it was, I was going, oh my gosh, right? Like, are you serious? Right? But the thing about it is that it had to be white teachers because the Afrocentric program was underneath the history department. So they had to grab like the history teacher to teach the Afrocentric program. But I'm sitting there going, how can you, like, it's a non-starter, a white person teaching Afrocentricity, period, right? Like, you might as well not even do it because you'll be discouraging Black youth from really getting involved with Afrocentricity, because once they even are told like what the meaning is, they're going to say, well, why is a white teacher teaching us this, right? So even now, when there's been an announcement that there's an initiative that's going to be undertaken at Ontario schools where they're going to be taught like Black history.
Who's teaching it?
Who's teaching?
Should be people like you.
Well, yeah, you know,
right?
And people who are qualified. Not because you're Black doesn't mean that you're qualified.
Right.
Because,
there has to be a vetting process.
Yeah. It's not as deep as just saying that Harriet Tubman came along the Underground Railroad or Alvin Curling was a politician. It's deeper than that, right? Or at least I see it deeper than that, right? You know, but some people won't, and then they'll discourage Black youth from seeing history for what it is and as an empowering thing that can really empower our community, right?
Got it.
Yeah.
Frequency Event Promotion says, hi, Robert Small, doing big things.
Thanks, man.
So we'll finally get to it. Over the 30 years, has the process of producing, like that word, producing, not copying, producing the poster change in any way?
Yeah, it's changed in various ways, right? Like the painting behind me, like I created this painting behind me, but with the creation of AI as well as technology, it affects a lot of different fields, including mine. So with regard to me, I used to paint the individual features of individuals, but I found that people weren't really taking that anymore. That kind of looked old school by painting it, right? So I gradually started phasing that out to a certain extent and just putting the photos of the individuals and having like this artwork was in the background of the poster this year, right? But what I put QR codes on the poster that individuals can scan, and they would go to questions on the individuals that are profiled on there. So like an individual that's on there is Dr. Wanda Thomas Bernard, and she's a senator from Nova Scotia. So if you scan it, it will go to different questions related to her, such as the importance of Black women being involved in the political process. Why is that important? So it's not like questions like how old is Wanda Thomas or stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So they're really critical questions that get people thinking about different issues, right?
30 years, is it easier, the same, or more challenging to get, first of all, get people who you feel should be on the poster, and also for people to accept being on the poster?
It's never a problem them accepting, but it is hard. Like with respect to selecting individuals, it's a process because at first people would always mention to me that I should get a committee to decide who to be on it. But I found that, once again, going back to the whole thing about vetting people, is that some people would want to be on the poster for the wrong reasons. They might have a book coming out next year. So they want to be on.
You're kidding me.
I've literally been told that. Yeah.
My goodness.
Like they've said that to my face, thinking that that's not a problem, right? And I'm going like, yeah, but you have a book coming out, but what have you done for the Black community? You're just a Black person who's putting out a book, and that's fine, that's great, but how's your book affecting the Black community on the whole, right? And that is the type of Black person I would put on the poster. Not a Black person who, because there have been Black people that obviously have been the director of this association or the CEO of this, but what have they done for the Black community? They're just symbolic, but they haven't been impactful though, right? And that's a difference. So there's various millionaires and billionaires in the black community, but what impact have they had on the Black community, right?
Okay, good stuff. With the poster, how does it impact you now compared to when you first started?
How's it impact me now compared to? I think compared when I first started, I didn't see it as a responsibility to continue, but I just seen it as something to get my name out there as an artist. So I didn't see it. I just see it as benefiting me. But over the course of the years, when there have been Black youth that have come up to me and said, "Oh, can you sign my poster? Can you sign my poster?" and everything like that, and like kind of seeing me as some pseudo celebrity and everything, and then getting the Order of Canada, right, and being the only Black visual artist to ever get the Order of Canada, and probably the youngest Black person too. But I don't talk about that as much, right? Because we're all sensitive about age, right?
Yeah.
But I got it at 52, so it was very few Black people that were younger than 52 when they got it, right? So with that, it's kind of like a responsibility to continue doing it, coupled with the fact that I've been doing it for 30 years. There have been individuals who are 5 when I first started, and now they're 30, and they've been seeing the poster all their lives type of thing. So I do feel a responsibility in that regard, So it's been a great experience, that's for sure. It's been trying too, because oftentimes when going back to what the doctor had mentioned about like kinfolk, not all kinfolk is skinfolk. If skinfolk is kinfolk, right? Yeah. That it does take something out of you when you see like Black people assisting other people from outside of our community trying to duplicate what you're doing, right? So it does take some emotional out of you, because you kind of question like, why the hell am I doing this if someone's always trying to sabotage me, right? And meanwhile, back at the ranch, there's so many different ideas for Black History Month that could occur. Like even just Ryan saying, like, if there was a black films like happening every Saturday or during Black History Month, or if there was conventions that occurred during Black History Month. If the banking industry, if the real estate industry, if the financial industry, if the social work industry had a convention every weekend of Black History Month on different disciplines, like Black History Month would evolve into a time to push our community forward. But unfortunately, someone works at I always say the Royal Bank, because if I have a gripe against the Royal Bank, but right, like if someone works at the Royal Financial Institution, and they just want to have like a culture show, basically a culture show, where they're having like dancers, artists just coming out and just once again having fun, right? Like really, so half of the times during Black History Month, the events, the educational component is missing, but there's a whole heap of having fun.
Oh yeah.
Like I had to, like there was this one sponsor that I had this year, and I had to I was asking them about how I'm getting paid, right? And they were kind of hooing and hawing about it. And I said, I know you got
money.
Yeah, I know the guy that is making the curry chicken and rice. That guy's gotten paid already, right?
Wow.
Like I know he's gotten paid already, he or she. There ain't no way he's started without his money. So if I'm the educational component, why are you wondering about paying me? Like you're making sure everybody's belly is full first, and then you think about the education part about it. Like, are you serious? Right?
So you're still having with your poster to deal with some of this craziness.
Yeah, to a certain extent, right? Like, it wasn't a big thing, but it was a discussion,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
You know, so needless to say, like, I think that we have to gain an appreciation for ourselves, as well as Black entrepreneurship, as well as for the possibilities that we can move forward, because it's staring us in our face. And I always wonder every Black History Month when I'll always get like a Black organization or a Black individual that wants to get my posters, and their white boss won't give them any money for it, right? and I'm like,
which leads to a larger conversation. Okay, why are you working for this person with that type of mindset?
Yeah, and on top of that, like, sometimes I tell them that, you know what, if I was your white supervisor, I wouldn't give it to you either, right?
Wow.
Like, you just like you're running up to the person January 23rd asking for like $5,000, right? It's like having a birthday party for your daughter and then phoning everybody up like a day before.
Yes.
Yeah, come over to my house. Come over to my house. Come over to my house. Make sure you're coming. Make sure you're coming. Right? Like, you're gonna look and say, "Hey, Sherry. Hey, Tom. Like, didn't you know that your daughter's birthday was tomorrow? Like
Plan
a year
ahead.
before."
All these companies, all these companies plan their budgets way ahead of time. They're not doing it like, yeah.
Exactly. Right? Like, I respect the fact that they're doing something for Black History Month, but once again, going back to planning for Black people and executing and having a plan and executing it. Once again, if in every discipline, from social work to financial industry and back again, we only have 5% of the Black people in those industries planning something for Black History Month that's educational and trying to get like Black youth into those fields. If you had 20, you could easily have 20 different conventions happening during Black History Month, and that would create like almost like a force field for our children's self-esteem, because they see all these conventions happening and their parents taking them to it every year, right? So that would definitely have an effect, rather than us like having just get-togethers where we just like dish out food and watch each other dance or look at art all day, right?
Okay. All right. We got some more comments here. Hayden Morrison says, "Good morning, all. Robert comes with passion, vision versus others who come with salary and self-recognition." Whoa. Wow. That was fire.
Yeah, Hayden's coming with it this morning. Right? I thought I was. Well, shut up and just tell him to come on.
Dr. Chai says, and people go to sleep with their belly full.
Exactly. I'm hungry now, actually.
Oh, there you go. And the big dreamer from the U.S., Greg Walker, what is up with you? Hope you and your family are doing fine, big dreamer. And Dr. Chai says, right, if you don't care enough to plan ahead for Black History Month, why should the companies?
Well, exactly. Right.
You know, and we got some more questions. Another good question here from Realist Ray from the Midland Group. Are there any programs, plans in place with municipalities to create murals from the posters where you are compensated and the visibility is possibly higher? Good question.
Well, you know what? There's like I'll concede that to the younger generation, because there's various people that Black artists who create murals that are way better than I am, right? And do it as a profession, and that's been going on in the Toronto area. I can't remember his name offhand, but I follow him on Instagram. But the one thing that I do have a mural that I created that's down at the OPSU building at Yonge and Wellesley, and have been on the side of their building intermittently for like the last 15 years. So I'm really empowered knowing or believing that having my artwork around has had an effect on the community where similar ideas are happening. I see the TTC this year celebrated 11 different African Canadians by putting their face and artistic depiction on the TTC buses this year. And called James Nane Kande, as well as Ida Sadu were part of that. You know, I also see art on the side of buildings where they celebrate different individuals. So I'd like to think that doing the poster has galvanized people to create similar ideas that are not directly poster ideas, but using art as a way of depicting as a powerful way of depicting our history and immortalizing our history too. Right?
Good stuff. Got some more questions here. I saw something.
More questions.
Got here. Dr. Tachi's asking, how do you envision AI helping in your endeavors?
Well, you know what, Dr. Tachi? It has helped me on my endeavors because I created a new product called Beyond 28 Days, right? And it's a set of 30 different cards that have a QR code on the back and it features individuals on the front. Dr. Vibe had some of them on display earlier. And if you scan the code, it will take you to a page that has questions on each individual that are profiled. So I did 30 on African Canadians. I've already done like about 30 on different African Americans I'm launching this year. So AI has really helped in that regard, as well as those cards that you just seen. Like I didn't draw those, but I did those on the internet, right? So it has helped, and we have to keep on recreating Black history to make it exciting for the next generation. So that's what I've been doing, right? So with the help of AI.
So you, through your poster, how do you see the willingness of the next generation to accept or dig deeper when it comes to Black history with so many distractions that they have in their world?
Well, I think it's important for my generation to really make them feel that Black history is something exciting and that can evolve, that it's not just stagnant, that you're not just going to read a book and like learn about Harriet Tubman existing, but kind of relating the Harriet Tubman experience to the present day, right? So you might say that, hey, that Harriet Tubman was a leader of the Underground Railroad. Compared to now, you can relate the Underground Railroad to the advancement of technology. And if there are some of us that will be left behind if we're not current with technology and the changes that are occurring. So maybe our Underground Railroad is more a technology railroad that has to occur, right? You see, I just thought about that just now. And
there you go.
Oh my God, man! Seriously,
right? It only on the Dr. Vibe you come up with these.
Exactly. I'm going downstairs after this and working on my clone machine again. Right?
No, I'm saying you do it, it, because a lot of these items, things that you think about in real time, in 2 or 3 hours, if you don't put it down, distractions come up.
I've successfully cloned my right foot, but I'm working on the rest of it. It's like twitching in the bottom like this.
That is good stuff. I don't, as many times as we've spoken online and offline, I don't think I've ever asked you this conversation piece. So hopefully you'll respond to it. In the 30 years, did you ever feel like quitting?
Yeah, like several times actually, right? You know, like for various reasons, you know, quite honestly, for various reasons, right? Like, but I've always overcome it, you know, like sometimes in personal reasons, like my father passing away. I always I found that he passed away like 3 years ago, and I didn't feel like drawing, like painting happy Black people because I wasn't happy at all, right? So that's why for that year, I kind of put people's pictures on it, right? Rather than painting. And then I realized after the fact that they sold just as much as the ones.
Wow.
So I might as well, why am I putting all this effort into it? So, but that really kind of took a toll on me. And quite frankly, still until this very day, because I don't really, after he passed away, I didn't really feel compelled to as much to do the poster as I did before, right? For one reason or another. It's not like my dad asked me about, oh, how's the poster doing? But somehow the enthusiasm just came out of my sales with regard to that and the pomp and circumstances related to it, right? Because the real world came crashing in, right? Yeah, and there have been times where I felt like quitting, so not quitting, but discouraged. Sometimes when I'd have conversations with like individual Black people, and I'd kind of go like, oh, what's the sense of this, right? And stuff like that. But I've always felt encouraged by the positive comments that people have given me, and just wanting to for me to continue, even if it hasn't been at the cost of me financially or just being able to go on vacation sometimes like everybody else. It's just a slight personal sacrifice that I don't feel bad about making, right?
Well, first of all, thank you for answering that. And I'm sure everyone who's watching live on the replay, first of all, condolences on the loss of your father. And thank you for keeping it going. What keeps you going after 30 years, after some of all the challenges? And I'm sure you still get them. We all do. But what keeps Robert Small going?
Well, I think the one thing that keeps me going is just the different experiences that happen each year, right? And also being surprised at the enthusiasm that some people have that are on the poster, that they feel like it's really a big honor to be on the poster, right? So, and sometimes I think I'm too close to it. So when I get like people such as Professor Carl James, thanking me not once but twice, but several times, like for being on the poster, like I feel empowered, especially since I grew up admiring Carl James, right? And we came from the school of Black empowerment where you had to get the acceptance of the elders before you were seeing yourself as anybody, right? Like you didn't see yourself as a leader in the Black community if like the elders didn't kind of respect you.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's how I felt growing up. So like I felt honored being around like Charles Roach. I can remember being at an event and I was helping out and Charles Roach was there as well. And both him, and he's an artist and I was an artist, he was putting up his artwork on the wall. And he was about to go up on the step, and I kind of motioned to him that no, like I'll do it because I kind of felt it was beneath him to be doing that, right?
Absolutely.
But he just pushed me off, and it pushed me up, and he said, "No, Robert, it's okay, right?" But just being around people such as that, kind of empowered me to keep on moving forward. And like Hamlin Grange, like he gave me some great advice. It's so funny because I worked as the director of the YMCA Black Achievers program, and he was there and he was mentoring me at the time. And I was kind of going myself, like on TV, he comes across as like this really hardline guy type of thing, right? But he's doing the news. How can he not, right? So I was kind of going, oh, how's this going to go down? And I was so worried about being a failure in his eyes that I didn't talk to him for like 3 or 4 days, even though he was only a few desks away from me, right? So then I said, oh, I better come up and say hi to him because he might think something. So I came up to him and said hi, and it was really approachable. And he really taught me at that young age of 26, 27 of how to be a Black person that people see on TV and have the real life version of that person be who they imagined, right? And the importance of that, because you have certain expectations of a Black person that you look up to on TV that might not materialize in real life. And he did that for me, and I appreciate that to this very day.
Wonderful. Frequency event promotions. I think you covered that in this conversation piece they have. You're saying, Robert, do you think you get the full support from the community, seeing that you have been doing this line of work for 30 years? How do you keep motivated? So I think we've answered the motivated part, but I think you've also covered out you're not getting the full support of the community.
No, I'm not. Right? Like they're still looking for the white guy to buy the poster and put it in their on their wall, right? But and that's another reason why quite frankly, like I feel like quitting sometimes, because I feel like as if I'm able to get like white people to support, like white corporations to support me more so than the average Black person on the street, right? Like I'll get thanks from the average Black person on the street. I gladly accept it, but I don't think that they see the reality that I've been doing this for 30 years. If they bought one poster for $15 every year and they taught their child who those people were on the poster,
Bam.
Their child, like imagine 1 million Black children in this city alone knowing 150 Black people in history.
Very good way of very good way of putting that. There's the legacy piece.
Yeah, and all they had to do was buy a poster for $15 once a year.
Yeah,
right.
That's less
like
than
that,
most.
right.
That's a little bit more than a Popeyes meal.
Yeah, exactly. Right, or McDonald's, right,
Yep.
or let alone their shoes. Like if you buy the $200 worth of shoes, like of course that shoes are a necessity, but $200 and $300 shoes are not a necessity, right?
There you go. There you go.
So so that's the disappointing aspect of it. But once again, when you're going back to doing work in the Black community, you really have to live by the philosophy, forgive them, Lord, for they not know what they do. Right?
Yes, Pastor Small.
Even though I'm not religiously inclined.
Yes, Pastor Small.
Yeah. But
you've got the white in the beard. Now we just have to get you the white collar. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, exactly. That the whiteness in the beard only came in this year, right?
Oh, so, okay. All right.
Yeah,
Frequency
as you can tell in my hair, it's black on top, right?
More conversation pieces coming. I hope you have a little bit more time.
Yeah, sure.
It says, has there ever been a time that sales have been in decline? If so, what strategies have worked for you to get things back on course? Good question.
Yeah, well, you know what? They kind of dip sometimes. I wouldn't think that they were desperate in decline. I think the one time that I kind of panicked was when the pandemic occurred. So I was wondering if next year they'd be buying people would be buying the poster. So I kind of kept going as if nothing had gone differently and just kept on pushing the poster, period, right? But with respect to changing my motives and everything, I think the posters remain relevant over the years just because I've revolutionized it with putting QR codes, so it's more interactive and everything. It has just a usefulness in the community, right?
Okay. Just building on that, we're a number of years now since George Floyd. What were your sales like during that period? And what are they like now? Because obviously, Black Lives Matter and Black awareness became like a number one thing. It's not as much anymore. Has that had any impact on your poster sales?
Well, yeah, because sometimes it's easier if people feel, because I know that there are various reasons that people buy my poster. Some people buy like one poster to put up, and that's it, right? And there are some people that buy all 30, right? And so there are some people that want to just buy the poster to say they've done something for Black History Month. Here, can you see we put up that poster on the wall? But there's others that want to buy 30 in order to make a real hard impact, right? So with it here, I've lost track of what you originally asked.
No, I was asking how we're a few years now from the George Floyd, and the awareness and because especially with a lot of corporations, DEI is basically done.
Yeah.
How has that had an impact on the impact and awareness of the legacy collection?
Yeah, it has. But I think relating back to the whole DEI aspect, like someone asked me the other day if that I really congratulate you on your anti-racism work, right? And I go, well, I don't really do anti-racism work. I do more Black empowerment work, how I see it, right? And I see it, and that's totally different. Like for you to do anti-racism work, racism has to exist for you to do the work, right? But with me, I'm doing this next year whether or not Black people are like empowered or not, right? So that's a whole totally different story. So with the DEI aspect, like we shouldn't have looked upon it like as if things are going great, because these people work for the corporation, right? So they're not working on behalf of Black people. It's not like the Black community is funding them and sending them to Sears and to the Royal Bank and CIBC or whatever, right? That these corporations are hiring them to to bring DEI in, and they control the pace and they control the amount of change that occurs, right? So we should, and DEI, like how many different times are you going to change the name of something that already existed, right? But oftentimes that changing names just adds to our confusion, right? And delays us from making the real change that we really need to make, right? And oftentimes it should just come from within us rather than waiting for individuals. Like literally, like there's a lot of Black people that would probably be empowered that, the Canadian government is Canadian provincial government is mandating Canadian history in our schools. I can't wait. But hello, like if you bought 30 posters off of me right now, like today, like at 10:15, your child could know 150 different Black people in history by the end of the month.
Wow. Robert's dropping the knowledge bombs, and more people are coming in the conversation. We're going to keep him on for a little bit. So,
but yeah, you're waiting for the white guy to do it.
Divine Online says that's a powerful point. Also, Opal Inspired says, you are so right, Robert. I'm not sure people realize how important art is. Then we complain about not being represented.
Well, yeah. And the thing is, we complain, like we can't like want people to you can't say that the school boards and educational institutions are racist, then be cheering when they're going to say that they're going to teach you your own history. Because guess what? They're going to teach it in a racist way. They already are. They already have, right? And they already are right now. So why do you think it's going to be any different? With respect to the enslavement of African people, like they know that there were riots and there were rebellions on these plantations, but not one. Well, maybe on your channel, but the average Black person cannot name 3 rebellions that occurred in Africa traveling during the transatlantic slave trade in North America and Canada. They can't name 3. They can barely name 2, and that's purposeful. But these same historians that made the books that are reading up on slavery, they knew these rebellions were occurring, and they never mentioned it once in the books that these people that you've read in secondary school. Not once.
All right. Hayden Morrison goes, OMG, forgive them, Lord, for they not know what to do is important. And that in an entire show could be just done on that, just so deep.
Yeah.
Ray says from the Mill Group, love your opinion on DEI versus Black empowerment. Big knowledge bomb there. Big knowledge bomb there.
And I'm just going to drop another bomb.
Uh-oh.
Here we go. Drum roll, please. Do you know that the phrase "spare the rod, spoil the child" is not in the Bible? It is not in the Bible. You Google right now, it is not in the Bible. It actually was created by a poet, a 17th century white European poet, and you Google "spare the rod, spoil the child" poem, and you are actually reciting a poem that was made by a 17th century poet, and you're using that as a means to rear your children. Like, are you insane?
Well,
and there are people right now that are Googling and they're figuring this out for the first time. And oftentimes let's sit there and say that, look, but spare the rod, spoil the child sounds biblical, but it sounds biblical to someone who can't read. So probably an enslaved African heard that, thought it sounded biblical, said it was from the Bible, and guess what they did? They told their children that was part of the Bible. Guess what that child did? That child told their children that it was part of the Bible. Let me ask you a question. Who told you that was part of the Bible? Your mother, your father, right?
Yeah.
So when people start talking about that the impact of slavery doesn't exist in the present day, you're eating the same food that slaves made, like now. So if the phrases that those enslaved Africans thought were biblical, you think the impact of slavery still exists. If you're eating the food that they made and you're gobbling it down, like, hey, I had oxtail yesterday, which I know I probably shouldn't have had, but hey.
You and Ryan are that. Ryan loves his oxtail. We're trying to get him off the oxtail.
I'm trying to purge the impact of slavery from my existence. It's still a process, right?
It's a process.
But if you're eating the food that slave had to eat, and you now really like it, like, you can't discount the possibility that the mentality of a slave exists in your mind, right?
All right. So Divine Online is going, whoa, and he loves the quote, who told you that was part of the Bible? Gus, and he goes, woo. Darase Rose says, good morning, all. Such an important message. No knowledge of our truth and self-reliance is key. Conversation. Ray comes back, says, do you think, Robert, as our world becomes more virtual, that has negatively impacted the intergenerational relationships and the transfer of experiences and knowledge?
Yeah, definitely, because it seems that the images that are coming back are coming more fast and furious through like Instagram and these social media platforms. And you now have adults who want to act like children, really.
Don't start, please.
More actively, right? And the gratification that they didn't get when they were younger, they now want to seek it when they're older, right? So I don't think that the youth are seeing that much of a difference in between the ages as they once generational knowledge that they once did, because they have parents that are acting like as if they want to be their age when they're not, right? Okay. So it's unfortunate.
Freakazoom says, does oxtail come from an ox or a cow?
You know what? I'm Bayesian, right? So every Sunday, my parents would give us pig's tail, right? And as ashamed as I am to say, I only fully realized that I was eating the tail of a pig like when I was in my 20s. I didn't make the connect. For some reason, I didn't make the connection. Right until I was in my 20s, I go, oh, wait a second. This is actually a tail of a pig, the feet of a pig, right? So, yeah, after that, I couldn't eat it and everything, right? So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So,
But also, just as a commentary, you
Sure.
know, like I think it's a hard thing. The reason why it was probably hard for me to acknowledge that you're eating the feet of a pig because of the source it was coming from. Like if your parents are the ones telling you spare the rod, spoil the child, and stuff like that, and they're telling you certain things, you don't want to feel like as if your parents told you the wrong thing and that they were misguided, right? But it's hard to confront that. So a lot of us will like readily accept like praying to a white Jesus, even though you're black. There's not one culture on the face of this earth that worships a deity or a god that doesn't look like them, right? South Asians do not worship a god that doesn't look like them. You go to Asia, they do not worship a god that doesn't work like them, right? Europeans worship a god that works like them. Mexicans worship a god that looks like them. Like, where is the god that looks like you? And you're actually telling your children to bow down and to worship a god that doesn't look like them at all. Like it's not a mystery like why certain things are happening in our community because we've been indoctrinated really deeply.
Okay. Divine Online continues the oxtail conversation. Oxtail used to be from an ox bull, but now it's actually the tail of a cow. Long story short, it was brought as a variation of an African hotspot slave dish back in the 1500s. He says, based off my knowledge. That's just your knowledge. Okay. Also,
Divine has now killed oxtail for me.
Good morning, Carol, Christine, and thanks for favoring the conversation. You also have a conversation piece for Robert saying, we had to learn from each other, work and build together. We did amazing things. How do we ever get back to that?
Well, I think that, Carol is definitely an example of that, of being creative, right? And doing work for Black communities that need that help, right? So Carol has created an organization that helps individuals who have issues. I don't want to describe it in the wrong way, right? But she can put up her website that deals with Black youth and families that have issues with respect to their children and everything. And we really have to delve in and do the work and be committal. Yeah. So once again, Carol doing work within the Black community, she's part of that 5% that I'm talking about.
So diverse.
Yeah, there you go, right?
So Carol, if you please reach out to me, I'd like to have you on the platform. And actually interesting, I was at a presentation last Tuesday of a professor talking about neurodiverse and the impact in the business world. And it was really, really, really good. But there was a lot of good things. But I'd like to get people who look like us that are in that lens speaking to our people about that lens.
Yeah. And
sorry
Carol,
to interrupt, Roger.
Carol should definitely be on your show. She has like 4 degrees and I only have 2, right? So,
okay. And there's the
organization. She definitely should be.
yaij.org. Fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic. Let's see if we got anything else for Mr. Small, because he is been on fire today and you have all been on fire. Something I was going to say then. Freaking event project. Robert Small, what's in the next 2 and 5 years from now?
Well, I'm really focusing more on the beyond 28 days component that I have, because I feel that's something that's more aligned with my intellect now. With the posters, I've been doing it for 30 years, so it's kind of like on autopilot in a way. So I'm really developing things related to technology, and I want to get into more artificial intelligence. So I'm learning more about that and trying to relate it to Black history, and we'll see where it goes and everything.
Absolutely. Some more comments. She goes about Dr. Tachi goes to Carol. 4 degrees. Wow. Carol says also Rob is always on fire. Such an incredible leader. Maverick. I like that one. He is a maverick. All right. And
Yeah,
Dr. Chachi says, thank you so much for your knowledge and your time. So, my man, any parting thoughts you have for our audience before we let you go do some things?
Yeah, well, I guess the one thing I'd just say is that for all of the people that are online, that I know, and the people that I've been introduced to online here, just continue doing the work in the Black community and not to be discouraged and to keep pushing forward. And that's basically what I'd say.
This was something you said at the beginning. You and I are going to have a look. I don't think there's a Black community. I think they're Black neighborhoods. Your thoughts?
How would you distinguish between neighborhoods?
Show me what the Black community is.
Okay. Well, yeah. If you're thinking like that, because there's neighborhoods. There's Somali, the Somali neighborhood,
there's silos.
Yeah, there are, and even within those silos, there's silos based on economics and everything, right? Yeah. So there are, like let's say that, there are people from Barbados is a community here in Toronto, but it's based upon economics, and even within that, there's differences, right? So, and that's why I say that just because you're Black doesn't mean that you can operate in various communities, because those communities are so much different, right? Like I know I used to do some work up in the Jane and Finch area, but I had to be cognizant of the fact that I'm probably coming across as like some Black middle class guy that's out of touch.
Yes.
Right. So rather than say certain things, I just admitted that I might be out of touch. Right.
But that's a very important thing. What you just said right there. If you don't know, be honest and say you don't know.
Yeah. And I said that, look, if I were to get some help for you guys, what would it look like? Because I don't know what you need, right? And I don't want to assume what you need. But if I were to make some phone calls and try getting some help, like what would that look like to you?
Beautiful. Right? Love it.
Yeah.
Love that.
Rather than coming in saying, oh, like you kids really need Jesus and right. Which I've literally heard like Black adult people say to kids, right?
Well, I'll just finish off on this point. I'll let you go. I was listening to Dr. Boyce on the weekend, and it was yesterday, in fact. He said, I know a lot of Black people in church right now, and they're praying, either for health, wealth, or something. And a lot of times he says, maybe this is him, not me. He said, maybe you shouldn't be praying to Jesus, but maybe you need to pray for that white person who has the control to say yes or no for what you want.
Yeah.
That's what he said. I'm just sharing that. Not to say I believe that or not, but it was a very interesting point.
Oh, yeah. And I'll add to that, if you just realize that you have the power to do something, right? Yeah. Like, I'm one Black person that creates a poster that's in the Bank of Montreal across Canada, that's in over 5,000 schools right now, and has been doing that for the last 30 years. So if even 20 or 30 Black people in this city alone were doing something similar to me, like that would be impactful.
A shift.
Right? Yeah, it would be a shift. Like I hate to say it, but like I'm making a shift by myself, right? Let alone if there were like 50 Black people. There's a million out there, for God's sake, right? Yeah. But you have a million Black people who are working every day for the white power structure and feeling good about it. So you shouldn't really wonder why we're not excelling, right?
Okay. Leslie McEwen out of Ottawa, always great to have you here. The Black community is not homogeneous, absolutely. And Carol Christie says exactly. I'll close out with Robert on one other thing. Another thing that Dr. Boyce says about power. Just over a week ago, we had a big game called the Super Bowl. Biggest event, one-day event in sports in the world. There were 2 teams, Chiefs and 49ers. And he said, say I go up to the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, and say, who's the best team today? What are they going to tell you? They are.
Yeah.
And he says, okay, but what if I went over to the 49ers, Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan, McCaffrey, all them, and say, hey, the Chiefs say they're the best team out here. What are they going to say? He said, no. We're going that ain't right. We're going to show them that we're the best team out there.
Yeah.
Good analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Good analogy.
And now we as a community or neighborhoods have to show that we're the best neighborhood out there too, because
we're the best we're the best for ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Because the bottom line is, like, no one's coming to save you. Like, I always wonder if I'm the only one that grew up around white people, because the white people have their own problems, right? You know, it's not like as if, you know, like, even if I were to hear about the Holocaust, I sympathize. I really don't want it to occur again, but I'm not Jewish, so I'm not going to be working on it every day, because that's not necessarily directly my problem. Directly my problem. Indirectly, yes. Not indirectly, no. So with respect to racism, the bottom line is that it's society's problem, but it's directly your problem, right? So you really need to, rather than think about having anti-racism approaches, you should think about a Black empowerment approach, where you're doing something every day, regardless of whether we're empowered financially or not, right? But we're often looking for, like, white acceptance for an idea that we have, and then we proceed, right? And that really hasn't gotten us anywhere.
There you go. All right, my man. Thanks as always to you and your family. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace, and thank you for being you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Right.
And I thank you for your insights, your passion. We all needed a dose of this. Wherever you're watching it, whatever day it is, we all need this.
Yeah, definitely. Right.
All right. Thank you so much. You take care, man. Be in touch.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. I'm going back to cloning myself downstairs.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye. All right, family. There is his contact information on the screen. I've also, as I said, sent out his contact information on all the platforms except Ryan's LinkedIn platform, which I don't have access to. So that is it. So there we go. That was quite a conversation, eh? That was quite a conversation. So we got a number of things going on. So let's do a little recap. First things first, please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the subscribe button. Also, follow the Dr. Vibe Show on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If you want to advertise your business product or service on the platform, please feel free to email me, dr.vibe@the.vibe.show.com. And that's my email address too, Carol. If you want to get in touch with me, by the way, join the Morning Vibe Discord group by emailing me. I should have put that and sent that out to everybody doing, but it was so good. All right, coming up on this Friday's show, Perry Douglas is going to be bringing more knowledge bombs. He's going to be talking about the peril of Black History Month, how we hold ourselves back by doing the emotional thing instead of the intelligent thing. Bam, bam, bam. We got another comment here. 2 comments here. Great conversation. Thanks for your candid insight and thanks for your continued contribution from Ray. And then Opal Inspired says, thanks so much, Robert. Fantastic. So you can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and Facebook, the Afro Caribbean Business Network, Facebook and YouTube, and Ryan Oneil Knight, YouTube and LinkedIn. Speaking of that, if you want to get in touch with Ryan, there's his email there's his phone number, going too fast. Website, RyanOneilKnight.com. LinkedIn, Ryan Oneil Knight. Instagram, Ryan.Knight99. Email, workwithme@RyanOneilKnight.com. All right. That's that. That's a wrap. Thank you, everybody. If you have a vacation day today, please enjoy it. If you don't, still enjoy it. We got one more comment here. Let me just see what someone is saying here. Oh, Serena Thompson. Oh, and congrats to Robert. Okay, Serena, he receives that. He's in the green room, so he receives that. All right. So let's finish it off. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions. Then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And remember to give yourselves grace. We'll see you on Friday with Perry Douglas. There may be some stuff in between, but follow on the YouTube channel. Lots of content coming out on the YouTube, full-length conversations and YouTube shorts. All right? God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith. Walk good. And we'll see you.